And welcome back to the podcast, guys. I am psyched to have you here because it was Thanksgiving here last week. And depending on when you're listening to this, it's probably not Thanksgiving or the week after Thanksgiving. But I'm feeling in this mood of gratitude and thankfulness, and I wanted to share with you guys just some thoughts for those that might be struggling in the way that I often struggle, which is you're just so focused on the future and what you're building and trying to get to your goals, and you're a peak performer and you're like, oh, I want to be on that peak. I want to get there. And like, we spend so much time fixated on the target, on the goal that we're striving for. And because we live in that place of always projecting forward and looking at where we're not, we can often feel frustrated and disappointed and alone in the fact that we're not where we want to be or where we're trying to be. And for a lot of people, that can be super demotivating at a certain point, and it can start to lead to depression. It's why there's like such a prevalence of depression amongst entrepreneurs, and it's something that people don't talk about a lot. And I think a lot of it's because we spend so long striving towards something with very little positive feedback. There's so many setbacks, and it so rarely feels as though you're making positive progress. And I think one way to make humans miserable is to remove from their lives any sense of progress. And the reverse of that is, if you want to make people feel really good, you give them a sense of progress. You give them a sense of meaning and purpose, that they're striving towards a goal and actually making inroads. And so knowing that that's like our default state as entrepreneurs and as these people who kind of live looking forward, one of the things that you can do, I think, to really instill a sense of gratitude, or at least it's worked for me, is instead of focusing on the gap between where you are and where you're trying to be and just thinking about what I can do to close that gap, or obsessing about how big it is and why it's not getting smaller, instead of focusing on that gap every now and then, it doesn't have to be every day, even, it could be like every week, but take time to every now and then to stop and look back and reflect on the gap between where you started and where you are currently. And when you do that, when you focus on that gap, you start to realize, wow, okay, I maybe have not hit my goal yet. I'm not to where I'm trying to get to, but look how far I've come. Look at what I have done. Look at what I've accomplished. And in that gap, there is a lifetime of gratitude to be found. You just have to look for it. And so if you're at that point in your business where you're struggling to stay motivated or on task or like moving forward and it just feels hopeless and lost, just take some time, look back. And in there, I think you can find the gratitude, you can find the motivation to turn around and keep moving forward. Now, there's a book on the same topic. I have not read it. I've read another book by these gentlemen. It's called The Gap. Or no, what is it called? Gap in the Gain. Gap in the Gain, I think, is the name of the book, by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. They wrote another book called Who Not How. And I believe it covers a very similar topic. So if you're struggling with this, you want to go deeper on it, that's probably a really good book. I've had it highly recommended to me by a lot of people. I have not personally read it, so I cannot vouch for it or state to it. But I think gratitude is, in a lot of cases, linked from a psychological perspective with an increase in productivity and a pretty demonstrable one, 300% actually. It's linked with just higher levels of life satisfaction in general. And so anything that we can do to practice gratitude on a more consistent basis is going to pay some pretty big productivity dividends, if nothing else, if like quality of life as well. And one of the things I personally struggled with is, like, I kept a gratitude journal for many, many years because I was told, like, that's what you do. Write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for, and like think back on a time yesterday that you're grateful, and then like write about it. And I found for myself personally that it didn't have much value in that I didn't really feel grateful. I was just going through the motions. I was checking the box. I was writing the things down that I thought I should be grateful for. Like, maybe I was grateful, but I didn't really feel it. And if you don't feel the gratitude, then it doesn't do you any good. And so I kind of just bastardized the gratitude journaling process. And I do think there's a lot of benefit in it. There's a lot of research that supports that, but it wasn't for me. And if you're like me and you're a person that really struggles to connect with deep gratitude, this might be one of the ways. This is one of the ways that I personally feel it, is when I stop and I look back and I just observe the gap between where I started and where I am now. I'm filled with a sense of purpose and of progress. And on some days, that's enough just to, reignite the flame. So I hope that brought you some value. I hope that is just something that you can implement and help you maybe feel a little bit more grateful in your own life. And as always, guys, like I truly love each and every single one of you for being here, taking some time out of your day and sharing it with me. I can't tell you what it means to me, honestly. Like it's a lot, but you guys are rad. I appreciate it. Keep all the tags coming on social media. I appreciate those too. Like every time I get to see that you guys are enjoying the content that you're consuming it, it's serving you. Like that's the best thing ever. So keep tagging me on the social medias, guys. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.